That was so cute.
Yeah, she just hopped up right before I started the meeting, and then as soon as she saw you, probably got spooked.
What's your cat's name?
We just call her Girl Girl.
Oh, I have my little guy sometimes is walking around back here. Looks very similar as a orange tabby.
Orange cats are the best. I grew up with one. I feel like the like pet you have as like a kid just like imprints on you. Oh, she just let me show you. She's like
Oh my god.
she'll probably be just like shaking the camera doing that a little bit. She has
Yeah.
nowhere to go when she gets on top of this chair, but she always just gets up there anyway.
Cats be like that.
Yeah.
Slim. Slim, where are you?
Slim, come meet your girlfriend.
I know. I have like a loft, and so he'll like. This is like the ultimate like cat space because he can go up there and then be looking down on the kingdom,
Oh yeah.
which
Yeah,
is
she's like
great.
a kitty tower, but it's we live in like a yeah, we don't have any like lookout spots like that. You have a really cool spot over there. Is
Yeah, it
this
is.
in Milwaukee? I'm
Yeah.
guessing.
Yeah, it's like this little box. Like this used to be I think it used to be like a store of some sort, so it's like the door is like, right here and then you're just like in the space and I have like a little loft and it's great. It's like the weirdest
Yeah,
place
I
ever.
love it. It's
Yeah.
so cool.
Yeah, it's my favorite.
Nice.
I didn't grow up with cats, but I moved into this space, and my whole family's allergic to them. And then I was like, I am lonely, and I need a friend, and I was like, I am getting a cat, and then I did, and it was like the best decision I ever made.
Yeah, they're so. She always, anytime I'm like laying in bed, just like super depressed, she'll always just come up and lay right here. I'm like, God, if I
Oh,
didn't have you, I would fucking lose my mind.
I know, and I've been told that it's like orange cats are more affectionate or something like that. I have no idea because I never had one, but is this true?
um, they're the most out of the ones I've met. But I don't know. I think all cats have such different personalities. I don't know how much has to do with the color, but
Yeah. Because mine will come up on my chest too, and then like in the morning he will want me to, and I think this is because I have trained him. I don't know, but he will like want me to like he will want to be Little Spoon,
yeah.
and for me to like put my like arm around him, and then that is
Oh,
what he demands, and it's also what I demand, so it's great.
yeah, that's a great. She doesn't let me like wrap my arms around her. She in the morning, the one thing she does is like try to like bring my blankets back, so I have to get up.
Ah,
But she'll use her nails a little bit, so she's just like scratching me in the. She doesn't. She means well. She just wants to get her. But we could talk about cats all day.
I know, I know. Could I get you to introduce yourself real quick?
Yeah. My name's Karly Hartzman. I'm in Wednesday. Yeah.
Thank you. Um, so I love Twin Plagues to death. So happy with it. And me and my one of my coworkers were talking about it before it came out, and we were, I asked for it early and got it, and it was wonderful. And then I saw when it came out, our editor was like, "Did you see that Hanif did the write up?" And like Hanif Abdurraqib, like my favorite living author, literally like have read everything that he's ever done, and he just like lives inside my brain. And I was like, "How did this happen?"
He listened to the previous album and really liked it. So we just we needed a bio, we needed someone to write it, and Owen, who runs our label, was like, "Why don't we just reach out to Hanif?" And I was like, "Okay." And Hanif was like, "Yeah, I'll do it." And it was like we thought it was like such a long shot, and then of course I'm guessing you read it. It's like a beautiful essay.
Of course, yeah.
I
Like,
mean, it's it was crazy the whole thing. Yeah.
or were you a fan before?
I actually wasn't familiar with his work before I heard he was a fan, but Margot, my bassist, and Alan, my drummer, were like freaked out. And of course, I went back and like read everything I could find. But yeah,
I
initially they were the ones who were just like, "What?" And then, yeah,
I don't
it,
think that there is anybody that writes about music like he does. I mean, he is just like conceptually, I think a lot, I read a lot of music writing, and a lot of people write what they think people should hear or whatever, and he like inserts himself into it, and he
yeah.
involves poetry into it, and just like does all these things that I think like a lot of people tell you not to do. And I think it works beautifully, and it's perfect. So I'm so glad that he wrote that because it's great.
Yeah, I think anything personal, I mean, people are going to connect with it. I think it's so funny that people would be told not to involve themselves in their interpretation of
Ugh,
music because it's
I'm
so obvious.
constantly told that. I know.
Yeah, it's like people are gonna like feel that because like they don't have to have the exact same experience as you, but at least you're like being like transparent about like every way it's affected you. That's like the good stuff.
That's what I think too. And I wonder that like as an artist, like if you know, it's like as a listener, like we have our own interpretation of it, and it like hits us as people in a way. And I would imagine that you as an artist would want people to have their own personal thing, but I don't know. Would it? I mean, what do you
Yeah,
think?
100%.
Or when somebody writes about it, are you like, you must write about us and only us?
Oh no, I prefer when people like I've had a few people write about it that go into like a memory of theirs that it like
Yeah.
brought up for them, and I'm just like that rocks. Like I don't want to read the same freaking thing about myself over and over again. I would love to remove myself from the conversation actually and just like hear how people like thought about their own lives listening to, because that's the point. I kind of wanted to make the lyrics about trauma or whatever, but vague enough that like people could interpret it in that way.
I
Or
think
else like, yeah.
I think you strike a good balance because you do have things that are like really really specific. Um but also it's like because it's specific, it's not, or it's not like too specific where I'm like I can't identify with my friend jumping out of a car and breaking his foot while on acid, you know? Um so I think that's good.
Yeah, I mean there's a few things that like I that was on a list, that memory was on a list I keep of just like things I want to write about eventually, and I'm glad I finally got, I've been trying to write that song for a long time. I'm glad I got that. I'm kind of ready to stop thinking about that memory so I'm glad I got the song out of the way. But yeah.
How does a when did you start keeping this list?
Oh, I mean, it's not like a necessarily like a list written down anywhere, but I mean, anytime I experience something, like an example is like the other day there was like, I don't know if you've heard about like the like flooding in the South in general from that hurricane, but there was a like, I've never experienced, and we were totally fine the whole time, but I've never experienced a flood before in that way. Like our whole yard just became like a lake, and the river, we live right in front of a river, or it's a creek. The creek like rose like 15 feet, and it was just like surreal. I was like, okay, well that's an image that like I'm gonna keep in here for eventually, and I'm gonna write about
Mm.
that because it's just like, of course, like it's a thing I've never experienced, and it holds, I mean, a flood could hold like so much sadness, or you could find a way to like make it into a happy memory by like experiencing something for the first time, or like experiencing something that's scary but with someone you love in your house or something. Like there's so many, like if you start with the experience and like go into like whatever you want to accomplish, like for birthday song it was um I mean I was a junior in high school when that event happened, so I just wanted it to feel scary because it was scary.
Mm-hmm.
And then talk about how when you're distant enough away from something scary it's kind of funny, but you
Yeah.
have to wait for that. Like
Yeah.
that's the story like that's my party story, but in the time it was horrifying. Like, stuff like that. I
That
like
is
right
so
now.
interesting. And also like you were saying on just like how do you decide that perspective that you have? You know, you see a flood and you see a flood in front of your house, and you could either see that as being like this is something that I've never experienced before, and it's very scary, of course, and it could be scary, but also like you could, you know, especially with like separated from time a bit, you could, you know, see that as being something else.
Yeah. And I think that has a lot to do with like if the flood had like ruined my house, I probably like would have a much different. But luckily I was watching it from far enough away that I was like this could be interpreted ever however I want it. But if it had flooded my house and ruined my everything, all my belongings, I don't think I could have that many options, or maybe I could. I don't know. It's so funny how your brain copes with things.
Mm-hmm.
Um yeah, writing songs just feels like the only way to get over anything to me anymore. If I had didn't have that outlet, God, I don't know what I would do.
Is
But
it is the writing to get over events?
yeah, well, that's what I always okay, because every time I put out music, my mom's always like, "Dude, like, are you okay?" And I'm like, "Yes." Like, if I've written the song about it, that means I've progressed enough mentally, like, past this subject to like reflect. If I'm not writing a song about something, that's when you should worry because that means I'm like letting it take over
Mm.
instead of letting myself like process.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's definitely if the song is out, I'm probably okay. If there's not a song out about something, I'm probably like feeling it still.
Do you feel like um I listen to a lot of sad songs. I love sad songs, and I compulsive. It's like the only thing that I am drawn to, and I want to. I don't know. I am. Do you feel that you have to write the a sad song?
No, I usually start with an image or a line,
Mm-hmm.
and then the tone happens really naturally. I never like go in with like this is going to be a sad song. Like it ends up however like the words shape up.
Mm-hmm.
um like technically Handsome Man should be a sad song. It's a really upbeat like poppy song, but the associate like the memory I'm writing from is like pretty bad. But I didn't want necessarily the subject to matter like the memory to take over the entire tone. I think it's possible to write about a sad thing and not make a sad song for sure. I love a sad song,
I
but
do too. There's a
yeah,
part
I
of me
don't
that
always
is.
want to get into that pit though. Like I honestly don't have the energy to only write sad songs. I could, but it takes
I know. Yeah. I get that. Back to on authors. Richard Brautigan played. I was like, had read it, and I was like, oh, I also am a fan of Richard Brautigan. I know that he has a factor in this album too. Could you explain that?
oh yeah. I mean, he was just the only person I read for over a year. I mean, because I read the three books. It's like Trout Fishing and Watermelon Sugar, and then another one there in like a big thick book. But I read those and I was like, what? This is like because it's just absurd enough to like it's like highly emotional but
Mm.
very absurd and light, and there's no big words. I never felt exhausted by it, although it like challenges you in the way that like it's kind of surreal.
Yeah, it can get
um,
like a little exhausting in its absurdity.
yeah, but for some reason my brain was just like this works for me, so it was like perfect. It lined up for whatever my brain was doing, and then I just read everything I could find of his, and I haven't read him in a while because of that. I haven't found another thing, so I kind of like forget how his voice feels at this time. Like, you know,
Sure.
when you get really used to, I mean, like you're saying with Hanif, like you read him so much and his voice is like ingrained in
Yeah,
your,
I can hear
yeah.
it. Yeah.
I felt like that about Richard Brautigan for a long time, but I haven't read him in a while. Um, but yeah, I mean, his voice was in my head writing this whole album. So, and there was, I mean, I picked like specific lines from his writing too, and like built around them. Um,
Could
for
you
like
offer
Toothache,
an example?
yeah, Toothache. The first line in that song, Toothache, is Toothache Sky is about to rain. That's just like straight from his book, Revenge of the Lawn. And then I built the rest of the song around that line.
So how do you build it around then? You're like, okay, I've got this center that is Brautigan, and then you're like, am I? How do you build around that?
Yeah, so I mostly just try to like keep it going with lines that are as good as I can do because I love that line. So I guess the second verse I took the the rain bit from that line, and I was talking about like an overflowing gutter that was dripping like a nose, and then it reminded me of it's all very stream of consciousness when I write, but it reminded me of being at fifth grade, like the fifth grade lunch table when swine flu was really a
Mm.
big thing and everyone was like really nervous about being sick, and then I incorporated that. It's all just like blah, and then it's a song. But that's how that one kind of was written, around that one line.
Um, do you feel that you are channeling Brautigan's voice or your voice, or
I try to stick with my voice, but definitely I like to like give credit where credit is due. If I do use a line directly from him, I'll be like, yeah, that's not mine. But when I'm writing my own lines, I'm never like, what would Brautigan say? Like, I'm never thinking that. I like usually take it from there with my own brain.
yeah? I guess I was just wondering, like, what is like his voice that like keys you in, or like what is it about that style that what is it that you're looking for, you know?
I think the main thing I love about his stuff is just, yeah, like the accessibility
Yeah,
to his. He's not using stuff you don't understand. There's nothing I hate more than like someone talking about something emotional in a song, but you're just like, I don't know what you're saying
yeah.
because it's too like you can say use simple words and say like the best stuff.
Also, he's funny.
Yeah, the humor too, for sure, and the like juxtaposition of like images. He always like toothache and rain is a good example of that. Like who I've tried to do that and it's kind of hard. But I that's like one of the things I want to get really good at, like the combination of words that makes sense but you're like I don't know how, but it does.
Um, I my favorite song on the album is "How Can You Love? How Can You Live If You Can't Love? How Can You If You Do?" One, just that title, that line. I love that you stuck with the line. You were like, "This is." I love saying it on the radio because it will like sound like a different language because you know, um, it's the title of a song, so I say it fast.
Yeah.
How did you come up with that title? What's the story of that song? Where were you at when you were writing that?
Yeah, that's another ripped line. That's a line from Another Country by James Baldwin.
Wow, I did not know that.
Yeah, that song is built, and I try to say that as much as I can so people don't think it's mine. But um, I that's another one where it's like you start with that. I read that book years ago, and I was rifling through it because I always underline stuff I like, and I saw the line. I was like, oh my god, I have to write a country standard centered around this. And I had just started dating my bandmate Jake, and I was obsessed with him. I
It is
still
very
am.
sweet.
And I basically just thought about him and how he was on tour at the time with another band and how hard it is to love someone who's gone away. And of course, I've had moments where I realize I'm speaking about like other people I have lost with that song that I've loved or whatever. And so, yeah, that's many things at once. But yeah, I think I can credit myself for every other line in that song. But yeah, the main one, the crux of it is that James Baldwin quote, which I am, it's a perfect line.
It is a very effusive and loving song. I love that the love that you have in that song. It's very beautiful. He wanted it to be a country song, and it that comes across. And I how did you know that that would be a country song, or what did you like model that after?
Oh, I knew upon, it's funny because it like, that book is about a jazz musician. Um, and his like family and friends around him. But yeah, I mean, as soon as I read the line, I was like, that's a country song. I didn't like, there was
Just
no
there.
other like thought. That was just like, it was the only thing it could be. And I don't know if that's some sort of like, I think the way people talk about synesthesia is like really exhausting, but like, I don't know if that's a thing that works with my brain where like I see the words and I hear the song. But that one, it was just,
Yeah.
there was no other thing it could
There's a paradoxical sadness that is only
have.
captured in country songs.
Yeah. I mean, I could have just sang that line over and over and over again. It would have been a country song because
I
just,
agree.
it's got
It
that
is.
thing.
Yeah. Um well, I do a segment every day about covers, and I was thrilled to hear and see Ghost of a Dog. I don't know that song.
Mhm.
I honestly did not know that that was a cover until I read the liner notes of your album and saw that it was the only song that wasn't written by you, and I was like, who is this written by? And then I looked it up. And um how did you first hear that song and come across that, and then decide to include it on the album?
Yeah, I actually didn't hear the recorded version for probably till I was like 15 of that song. But as a kid, my parents just sang it constantly because
Really?
they thought it was so funny. And my mom's a huge dog person, so I just thought it was so weird that she was singing this song about a dead dog I was a kid. It was like as a kid I was like, this is a dark song, but they just thought it was so funny. And I actually get I tried to sing it from memory as I remembered them singing it. So
Oh
I
wow.
actually mess up I miss say one of the words in like the last couple of lines, but that's how they sang it. Um, but yeah, so I didn't know the original Edie Brickell version for a long, long time. Cause yeah, I guess they probably just listened to it when I was either when they were dating or when I don't know. I think of it as like their song and by like association, like our family song. I don't know. It's
Okay,
just
sweet. And in what context are they singing this song?
my dad just always like whistles and will like sing at like washing the dishes or whatever. And so like we would just be like, I don't know, maybe he's like walking me to school or something. He would just be like, how can that dog be barking in the backyard? And would just go into it or whatever.
I love it. That's so sweet.
Yeah.
Um, well, to end the interview, I always ask about a song that you have been listening to, because I would love to know that and play it. And so then this segment is like you're the DJ on 88.9 for a song, and because I'll play a bit of a song from Twin Plagues, and then and then we'll play whatever song you pick. So what's a song recently that you like have been listening to constantly, or a song like your dad that has been in your head and just kind of pops out when there's nothing else there?
Yeah. Well, I've been listening to a lot of country songs, like
Mm,
old country songs, because we're about to go into the studio just to like have some creative. We just haven't done anything creative in a while,
yeah,
because we've been just doing shows and doing work for this album.
yeah.
So we're gonna go record a bunch of country covers. And yeah, I'm so excited. I one of the ones we're doing is "She's Acting Single" by Gary Stewart. Do you know that song?
No.
You are gonna lose your mind. You're gonna lose your mind. The pedal steel at the opening of the song is like one of my favorite sounds ever, and it's a hilarious song.
Oh, I love that.
I'm so excited to hear.
What's hilarious about it? Because I that's so much country music is like so sad, but then so funny. There's like a
Yeah.
joke in there.
Well, his vocal technique, he does like a lot of like, I think he's trying to sound like he's crying a little bit,
Sure.
and then well, the first line of the chorus is "She's acting single, I'm drinking doubles." So and then it goes from there. It's just it's a perfect
Oh.
song. I'm so excited because yeah, I don't feel like people. It should be a country song that like everyone knows, but I haven't met a ton of people very familiar with it yet. I think it's like I think it's gonna emerge.
She's acting single, I'm drinking doubles.
Yeah.
End it.
Yeah, I know. It's one of those lines.
you've got it. Um, all right. Well, that's it. Um,
Cool.
so thank you for talking to me, and thanks for releasing the album. I love it so much, and was just like, I I tweeted about it, and you retweeted it. Was I was like, I have like record label people and everybody in the world, just like music I have to listen to, and
Mhm.
there was just like literally like 6 days straight where I only listened to this album, and I was like, I was like, I'm sorry everybody that have been sending me stuff.
No.
I this is the only thing that I've been listening to. So
Oh, I love that. That's so, I mean, that means the world to hear.
and that is like for me as a person that like is supposed to listen to music constantly and kind of like leave things behind and move on to the next thing, but like the reason that I got into music is because of like getting into that, and then you hit on something that just like stops and like puts the brakes on everything, and that you just like it takes over, and like you can't force that like takeover, and so when it happens it's rare and and organic, and I love it, and it happened with this record, and
Oh
it's
my
the
God.
best.
That means, because I've been having that too. Like my listening experience to music has changed so much. Because yeah,
Right.
we're bombarded with it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, there's only a few things that have like made me really stop in my tracks recently too. And that, oh, the fact that my album could be that for someone. That's so
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah, so thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. I had a good time.
Me too. Thanks for making time.